And he's not wearing a prison jumpsuit. He is.
I would only say, Your Honor, as this court is well aware, the publicity in this case is so extensive and emotions are already so high that adding fuel to the fire of media interviews or a rush to interview people as they leave the courthouse or enter the courthouse would only increase the concerns that the defense has. And even though the plea has a specific sentence attached to it, as this court is well aware, things happen in plea hearings and, sentencing hearings. And to minimize the possibility of that, we request that this order stay in place.
All right.
As this court is well aware, things happen in plea hearings and, sentencing hearings. As this court is well aware, things happen in plea hearings and, sentencing hearings.
I recognize the plea agreement includes a waiver of the right to appeal, but as the parties probably know, the U.S. Supreme Court in Garza versus Idaho has indicated the fact that a defendant waives the right to appeal doesn't mean they don't have the right to appeal.
I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Like you, be strong to hold the powers of the sun.
Listen to Pavarotti.
Can I be your superhero?
Hello. Welcome to The Revealing. I'm your host, Pavarotti, and I'm here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. And while I'm still not recovered, this recovery process is really slow. Apparently, I have some type of pinched nerve, so my neck, back, my right shoulder to make these videos is killing me, but I couldn't wait any longer because after what I've seen today, and then all the things that I've looked at here in the last week or so, I mean, I've read the book, I've seen all of the series, I've looked at all the interviews, and everything that I see, I just shake my head. And then after today, watching the hearing, reading what the defense posted yesterday in their reply to removing that non-dissemination order, and then I look at all the coverage around the case and I go, my goodness. I mean, I just live in a totally different world than everybody else, I guess. I see things absolutely night and day from I guess, everybody. So I couldn't wait any longer, even though I'm in a lot of pain, and I'm probably not going to be back to videos every day for a little while now, but I'm going to put this one together for you, and we're going to do a massive breakdown of some potential bombshells coming our way. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist, I wouldn't think, to figure out between the hearing today, a few of the documents that have been filed, the cases that are cited by both the defense and the judge, words that you heard Bicca Barlow say in the beginning of this video, there is some potential fireworks on the horizon, and I want everybody to be aware of them, because if they weren't potential fireworks, then we'll reason out how things just wouldn't make any sense. So with all that being said, we're going to do a big deep dive to that hearing today, the motions that were filed by the defense and by the media company, and I'm going to point out some glaring things, and we're going to look at some case law as well. And by the end of this, I hope to wrap it up in a bow. Hold on to your hats, folks.
I've already seen this one.
Sitting in the dark, listening to a little smooth jazz while he sharpens his 12-inch K-bar. That's a knife, please.
Show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Like you, be strong to hold the powers of the sun. Can I be your superhero?
Hello, welcome to The Revealing. I'm your host, Pavarotti, and I'm here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. And in this episode, I'm going to show you something, now that this gag order is lifted, that all but verifies my investigation into the case. We finally have cold, hard proof. And, you know, I'm going to have to almost apologize to everybody because I did a video a little over a month ago, and everybody thinks Pav's crazy. But after this video, there would have been a deal that was made long before the deal was told to the public, as we've seen in the corrected dates in the docs of the deal. And it just coincidentally happened right after this video that I put out. And I believe in my heart of hearts that they gave me too much time to stare at the facts in this case. And I was about to nail this entire thing. And they made it go away strangely right after this video. And now that we have some new evidence from interviews with people, it's going to verify what I said in this video. What's interesting is this wasn't even one of my most watched videos. Some of my videos where I really nailed some things, those were the ones that they tried to the shadow ban and not get out there to too many people. But when I'm done with what I'm saying in this video, I think you're going to agree with old Pav that after this video, the pressure was put on them so much that they couldn't go much further. And I watched a video from, one of my heroes, True Crime Design. She did the Omerta video this morning, and it was amazing. Y'all should go watch it. I'll put that in the description of the comments. I'm taking a lot of pain relaxers or muscle relaxers, whatever you want to call them. I'll put the link to that video in the description of this video. There we go. But hold on to your hats, folks, because if you think old Pav wasn't right on the money and the closer we got to trial was the closer I was getting to solving this thing, well, then you've got another thing coming. And I've got other information that I'm going to be bringing to you that is going to blow your heads clean off your shoulders. So I've got to be careful when I bring that to you, because it'll bring everything that we've talked about to a final conclusion, and it's in black and white right in front of your very eyes. Before I get to that one, though, I got to dispel the moronic things that are being said now about Brian Koberger and Papa Rogers and all this stuff. And that book by Patterson was the biggest farce book I've ever, it wasn't even well written. I mean, it drove me crazy. But we'll get into all that. First, I got to show you why I believe they made this thing go away so fast. Because I had hit it right on the head. I hit the nail right on the head. And I'll show you some proof of that before this video is done. First, let's revisit the video that I did over a month ago that I believe put this thing to bed. But right now, I want to start with this time frame right here, 1:31 a.m. And that's when you hear on Linda Lane, "I see you, Farley." Now, it's always been my contention that he was placed right there at those Linda Lane apartments as a lookout, looking for when people got home and making sure other people didn't come home with them. Then at 1:56 a.m., we've got Eric G. drops off Kaylee and Maddie. Okay, now here's what I'm going to attempt to prove in this video. I'm going to attempt to prove that the crime starts at approximately 2:54 a.m. with Kaylee and Maddie being subdued, but not being unalived. I'm also going to attempt to prove that the atrocity will actually take place between 3:52 a.m. and 4:17 a.m., and also that Ethan and Xana arrived home somewhere during this time period. And 3 to 4 assailants were involved in this atrocity. So if you're thinking it is not in line with what I have on the screen right here, and you're not going to be able to get your mind around it, don't watch any further. So once again, it starts off at 1:56 a.m., where Kaylee and Maddie were brought home by, we believe, Eric G., the driver. A lot of people have contention with that, so I got a question mark around it. But we believe the person driving this vehicle dropped Kaylee and Maddie home at 1:56. Now, when we go to this, after spending an evening out, Dylan, Bethany, Kaylee, and Maddie returned to their home in the early morning hours, and at approximately 2 a.m., they met up in Kaylee's bedroom. I'm going to try to assume this is all true and talk for a while before going to bed. Not all true, but I'm going to assume that they all met up in Kaylee's room at 2 a.m. The fifth roommate, Xana, was out with her boyfriend, Ethan. They weren't home yet, so never does say when they got home. I believe they got home after 3:50. The roommates debated going out to a food truck for a late snack, prompting Dylan to send a text at 2:10 a.m. to an Uber driver she knew to see if he was driving. Now, we later find out that they state that that Uber driver was actually Eric G. And ultimately, however, the girls decided just to go to bed. Now, when I read that, at first I read the roommates debated going out to a food truck for a late snack, and I assume the roommates included the roommates, Dylan, Bethany, Kaylee, and Maddie. But everything's cryptic and can be interpreted. It could have meant Dylan, Bethany, Kaylee, and Maddie met up in Kaylee's room. And then the roommates, who are the roommates? Well, that would be Dylan and Bethany, debated going out to a food truck for a late snack, prompting Dylan to send a text at 2:10 to an Uber driver she knew. But ultimately, however, the girls decided to just go to bed. So does that mean the roommates and the girls are two separate entities? Are the roommates Dylan and Bethany, and are the girls Kaylee and Maddie? So this can all be interpreted very strangely in many different ways. In this one, that's pretty much the way I'm going to interpret it. They all met in Kaylee's room at 2 a.m. The roommates debated this could mean just Dylan and Bethany, and the girls decided to just go to bed, Kaylee and Maddie. So the roommates debated going out. They text Eric G to come pick them up at 2:10. So I'm going to assume that Bethany and Dylan were both there at that time, and they texted the Uber driver to come get them. Now, we see this vehicle that matches the same vehicle that dropped off Kaylee and Maddie at 156 going west on Linda Lane, passing the Linda Lane, 1320 Linda Lane camera at 225:47. Then we see the same vehicle going back at 229:46. I believe this vehicle is carrying Dylan and Bethany off somewhere. I don't know where. Now, we also know that text and calls to Jack D start at 2:36 and they end at 2:52. These calls start 10 minutes after the roommates leave. Does this indicate that Kaylee and Maddie were worried that either Dylan or Bethany were going to see Jack D? Is that a possibility? I have no other evidence around that other than just an assumption by looking at the times on these things and why something would happen. So let's go back to that timeline real quick. Okay, so again, starting right here at 2 a.m., we got Kaylee, Maddie, Bethany, and Dylan. They're all in Kaylee's room. Dylan texts Eric Gower to inquire if he's driving. Eric Gower responds that he is driving, and then there's no other text or calls to Eric Gower, so I would have to assume that he's on his way to pick him up. And then we see that same vehicle that was supposedly Eric Gower that dropped off Maddie and Kaylee heading towards the King Road residence at 2:25. We see the headlights on the trees as it pulls up, and then we see it passing Linda Lane, going back by at 2:29.
Again, I need to call the landlord. She won't leave me the fuck alone. Let's see here. Okay, you can hear.